Greetings to the anointed. Never attempt to shine brighter than the sun. All you'll do is squint and perspire. According to experts, the mere existence of the human body generates around 100 watts of power. That is sufficient to maintain a light bulb's brightness. However, we're talking about megawatts of electricity in a selected one. The kind that is impossible to purchase, borrow, or copy without shortcutting. But now they're here. These people are mimics, wannabes, and people who see your light and say, "Yeah, I can do that too." The trouble is that they don't understand that your energy isn't just a mood you put on like socks in the morning. It's the culmination of conflicts fought, storms weathered, and a spiritual charge that only heaven could provide. They turn up their power, but rather of radiating like you. They're flickering, overheating, and appearing, to put it plainly, silly. That's the problem. People end up emitting static when they attempt to match your frequency without really traveling your path. They are able to mimic your speech, mannerisms, and even your gait. The deeper current, however, is what makes you unique and impenetrable. Because of this, they seem to be fake designer bags in a room full of real ones. Everyone else notices the difference, even when they believe they are fitting in. Today, we will explain why no amount of imitation can match the original design that God placed on your soul, and why they fail so miserably when they attempt to walk, speak, and light like you. First of all, they are attempting to operate on a battery that they do not possess. Every time they attempt to use a battery they do not own, it is evident. Your vitality is not something you acquired along the road, such as a trendy fashion. It's not a technique you picked up during a workshop or inspirational speech. You weren't even asked to carry it. It's in your DNA, the product of years of struggles, changes, and divine wiring. The effects of that authority are visible to people. When you enter a room and change the mood without speaking, others assume, "I can do that too." However, they are pursuing an impact without knowing where it came from. It is comparable to holding a phone without a charger. The screen eventually turns black. Their never-before-seen adventures charged your batteries. Every breakup, every moment of doubt, every silent triumph in the shadows when no one was cheering. Your current originated there. This is not how you woke up. Life has compelled you to function at a higher level, and you've been programmed to do so. It is impossible to teach, borrow, or steal that power. When someone attempts to imitate your enthusiasm, it always seems odd since they're pushing something that comes naturally to you, regardless of how many gestures or catchphrases they mimic. It's alignment, not effort, that makes you move with ease. They are exerting themselves, overcompensating, and ultimately exhausting themselves. They're not awful people, mind you. The reason is that they're trying to drive in a lane that wasn't designed for them. When it comes to electricity supply, they mistakenly believe it is about personality. That's the thing about the energy of a chosen one. Because its source is greater than you, it is self-replenishing. Because your battery isn't drained by events, you may appear radiant even during storms. Calling is how it is priced. In the meanwhile, they rely on publicity, outside approval, and fleeting spurts of inspiration to keep going. Their lights go out when they have no audience. When left unattended, they shut off. Because they are connected to an outlet that was never theirs in the first place, they will never be able to maintain the output, even though they can imitate the gestures, the style, and the tone. And eventually, everyone in the room realizes that a flickering bulb is different from continuous power. Secondly, their self-assurance is a disguise. It's a bloodline for you. Your confidence is a lineage, whereas theirs is a costume. They will never be able to replicate that portion. They can talk with that extra bit of swagger, wear the newest styles, and walk with their chest out, but it's all an act, like an outfit that gets hung up at the end of the day, no matter how convincing they attempt to seem. Your self-assurance is lived, not worn. There isn't a show. It is the result of surviving. It was constructed back when your only motivation was your own willpower, when life stripped you to the point where you had to choose between staying down and standing up. Your confidence is stable as a result. It doesn't increase when people are around and then go away when they're gone. Applause, attention, or other people's approval are not necessary. It is based on the reality of who you are and the things you have conquered. You already know who you are, therefore you don't need to prove yourself. And that self-awareness spreads in ways that they are unable to create. The flaws are always visible when they attempt to match it. They have strange body language. Their timing seems hurried. They seem borrowed. Your confidence has nothing to do with volume, despite the fact that people frequently confuse it with loudness. Because people can sense the weight of your presence, your calm periods are really frequently the loudest. It's impossible to fake it. They end up overdoing it, talking too much, trying too hard, or fabricating moments to appear larger when they attempt to mimic it. It becomes increasingly clear that their confidence isn't internal when they attempt to equal you. In actuality, the years of suffering, development, and self-respect have fully paid for your confidence. You've stood your stand in places where you didn't belong. Despite suffering setbacks, you maintained your composure. That makes an impression on your soul that imitation cannot match. They may own the clothing, but the legacy is not theirs. That's the distinction. A lineage runs deep, but a costume comes off. It's permanent once it's within you. It's only momentary when it's on you. And eventually the mask comes off and the difference is obvious, regardless of how hard they try to match your intensity. Thirdly, they are entertaining a throng that you no longer require. They are playing for an audience that you no longer require. Their attempts to match your enthusiasm always seem strange because of this. People's reactions aren't your main source of energy anymore. You've moved past the phase where you required continual affirmation to feel important. Now, your sense of value is based on your mission rather than the number of applause you receive. Everything changes with that shift because you're not there to impress when you enter a place. You are there to be. Furthermore, it is impossible to imitate that presence or that confident silence. The performance is crucial to them. Their eyes are always on the audience, emotionally as well as literally. Their enthusiasm begins to falter if they don't have someone to acknowledge them, to affirm them, to tell them, "You're killing it." They seem to require a spotlight in order to function. However, you've discovered how to shine in the dark. As a consequence, they spend all of their energy trying to keep up a facade, while you just live your truth, regardless of who is looking. The distinction is that you've already reached the breaking point and accepted the fact that not everyone will applaud you. There have been times when you've had to continue without any recognition, acclaim, or cheerleaders. And you found something strong in that area. Your worth is not affected by who is looking at you. You can't return to constantly requiring approval after you've experienced that type of independence. They fall short here. They're still playing to the crowd when they try to match you, so their intensity fluctuates based on the people in the room, not yours. Your sincerity remains constant regardless of the size of the audience. So you present yourself the same way in front of 10 or 10,000 people. You are fascinating because of your constancy. People trust you because of this. It's genuine. They know that. Ultimately, your energy is driven by alignment, whereas theirs is reliant on applause. They burn out trying to keep up with you because of this. You've mastered the art of thriving alone. They are unable to mimic that level, because their confidence disappears the instant the audience turns away. Fourth, the same waters you learn to breathe in are drowning them. The same waters you learn to breathe in are drowning them. And that's the indisputable distinction. You didn't just go to a difficult place. You were a resident there. You are aware of the undercurrents, the currents, the abrupt dips, and the silent threats that go unnoticed until it is too late. The seas that taught you how to move without worry are the same ones that now frighten them. How to maintain your rhythm when everything around you seems to be in disarray, and how to locate oxygen where none should be. You changed as a result. You exuded a power that is unmistakable but not loud. The problem is that people assume your ease comes naturally to you. They assume that your ability to remain composed under duress is a natural personality attribute. They think you're just lucky or unconcerned because of the way you handle challenges. They fail to recognize that this ease was earned. It's the outcome of innumerable situations in which you were forced to either adapt or get eaten. You've learned to trust yourself even when everything else is unclear, to focus while turmoil is clamoring for your attention, and to preserve your energy during storms. They are unable to maintain such strength when they attempt to duplicate it without the requisite expertise. They are flailing for stability, panting for oxygen, and displaying the fractures in their calmness as soon as the seas get turbulent. In contrast, you use less energy when moving. No needless movement, no needless fear. That's what separates someone who has studied survival from the shore from someone who has been trained by it. They look at you with both adoration and frustration because of this. They don't want the storms themselves, but they do want the way you handle them. They don't want the grind, but they do want the grace. They desire the breathing method without ever experiencing dyspnea. However, that is not how it operates. In reality, what they're referring to as vibes is a survival skill that has been honed to perfection. And the reality emerges as soon as the waters begin to rise, regardless of how they attempt to mimic it. Fifth, they are not growing the tree. Instead, they are replicating the fruit. Without growing the tree, they are simply replicating the fruit. Their version seldom endures because of this. The radiance, charm, calm power, and effortless command of a room that others see in you did not appear suddenly. It is the outward manifestation of years of self-control, selflessness, and unwavering dedication. You worked hard while no one was looking. When it would have been simpler to take shortcuts, you took difficult decisions. Storms, droughts, and seasons when nothing seemed to grow may all be tolerated by the root system you've created. Your fruit is authentic, long-lasting, and nutritious because of this. They only pay attention to what is visible when they attempt to mimic you. Without your approach, they want your outcomes. Without your alignment, they want your aura. Because they haven't done the unseen effort, they attempt to wear your radiance as an accessory. There is no actual life in their fruit. Putting wax apples in a dish is analogous to this. From a distance, they appear appealing, but up close, they lack flavor, nutrition, and genuineness. Your energy is linked to a source, which is why it feels different. Every statement you make and every action you do is supported by the foundations you've built via prayer, abstinence from particular behaviors, hard lessons learned, and character development. The digging, watering, and trimming have all been completed by you. Because of this, you may still generate something worthwhile during difficult times. It's all about the performance for them. They are able to emulate your actions, borrow your terminology, and mimic your manner. However, their version rapidly deteriorates since they are not tied to any actual root system. They exhaust themselves. They are revealed. Fruit that has been cultivated and fruit that has been made are seen differently by people. You don't have to compete with imitation because of this. Time will show itself to you. Seasons don't affect real fruit. People are fed by real fruit. Since real fruit is living, it multiplies. Furthermore, a tree with deep roots is not afraid of the wind. They don't comprehend that reality. You did more than simply sprout branches. You established roots. You're still standing because of this. Additionally, they continue to attempt to reattach fallen leaves. Sixth, they are unaware that your energy is more than just your emotions. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the Super Thanks button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but also the souls of many others through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's great design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Take action now. Share your blessings to exalt His kingdom, for you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. It's power. They are unaware that your energy is more than just your attitude. It's power, and they will never be able to close that distance. Regardless of how carefully they observe you, they feel that energy is about personality, eccentricities, body language, and witty wordplay, rather than being cheerful, charming, or on at the correct times. For you, however, it's presence rather than performance. Your energy dominates the room rather than merely appearing there. You're not attempting to exert dominance. It's because you naturally change the environment with the weight you carry. That is the distinction between authority and emotion. One is self-generated and transient. Something greater than yourself is the foundation of the other. You didn't choose to be an authoritative figure. It was formed by adversity, confirmed by fortitude, and sealed by a greater power. Because of this, it doesn't flicker when you're exhausted, when the audience is chilly, or when things are difficult. You walk with a certain assurance that has been acknowledged and branded on you on a psychological and spiritual level. People react differently to you, even if they don't fully understand why. It comes naturally. Genuine authority doesn't request consent. It is acknowledged silently. They immediately fail when they attempt to equal it. They are able to duplicate your posture, facial gestures, and speaking patterns. It seems false, though, like if you're seeing an actor perform a part they don't really understand, because they lack the authority to support it. Even if they are unable to explain the difference, people notice it right away. The lack of legitimacy is what they're feeling, even if they may say, something feels off. It is possible to create mood. Authority is unable to. Depending on your feelings, the people around you, and the events taking place, your mood might fluctuate. No matter the situation, authority is still in place. For this reason, although others can be loud and yet be disregarded, you can be quiet and still be respected. You earn the weight you bear by following your calling. Through wounds that become knowledge, through refusing to give up when it would have been simpler to do so. This is the reason their endeavors appear to be parodies. They're dressing up in something that isn't wearable. You can't pretend to be an authoritative figure, but you may borrow a mood. Either you have it or you don't. 7th, your aura is lived in, whereas theirs is painted. Your aura is lived in, theirs is painted. You can't use presentation or style to make up for that type of gap. They may imitate your speech patterns, polish the lingo, purchase the appearance, and even practice the cadence of your gestures. However, they are only applying paint to a blank wall. From a distance, it may appear plausible, but up close, you realize there is no depth, no texture, and no backstory. On the other hand, each chapter of your life contributes to the construction of your aura. The highs, the lows, the late-night struggles with uncertainty, and the secret breezes that no one ever witnessed. It is worn like a garment that has been molded to your life in a manner that no one else can, having been formed by your body over time. It bears your journey's aroma, the abrasions of your hardships, and the solace of knowing who you are without needing to prove it. Yesterday, you failed to pick it up. It has supported you through difficult times, and history has endowed it with a depth that cannot be purchased or replicated. They concentrate on the surface when they attempt to match you. They think they can be seen in the same manner as you if they can master the appearance, tone, and outward energy that a painted aura, however, has the drawback of chipping. When life puts strain on it, it disappears. When the paint begins to break, the blankness beneath is exposed. Although they may not be able to pinpoint the precise reason why their version seems strange, they can sense it. Since yours isn't a coating, it doesn't fade. It's incorporated. It's your demeanor, even when you're not attempting to win people over. It's how your energy remains constant whether you're receiving praise or criticism. It has been inhabited, and because of its lived-in feel, it has a genuineness that draws people in effortlessly. Because of this, it never sounds the same no matter how closely they mimic your style. While a lived-in aura is strong, a painted aura may be lovely. One is permanent, while the other is washable. Permanence consistently surpasses performance. The 8th is that they're pushing a frequency, which is causing them to overheat. They are overheating as a result of pushing a frequency, which is wearing them out in ways they refuse to acknowledge. Your energy flows naturally because you work in an environment that aligns with your vocation. It's not about putting on a show or getting hyped up. It's about aligning yourself with your purpose and identity. Because of such alignment, you may be magnetic without exerting yourself. It's simply your innate condition. It's a never-ending uphill climb for them. To get to where you live on a daily basis, they have to overcompensate, push, and exaggerate. The reason they burn out so soon is that they are producing unsustainable highs. You'll see that they attempt to project the same confidence and radiance one day, and then the following day they disappear, become quiet, or altogether change who they are. The cost of using a frequency that isn't theirs is that, rather from nourishing them, it depletes them. Your energy functions differently. Because it is based on purpose and authenticity, it renews itself. You're not trying to force it. You're just being. You may therefore remain consistent whether things are going well in your life or if turmoil breaks out. You've mastered the art of moving from alignment. Thus, you never need to pretend to have momentum. People also have greater faith in your energy because of this. It's steady rather than erratic. They are exposed by the inconsistency when they attempt to keep up. People become aware of the change. They act as though they had everything together one week. The next, they're disintegrating over trivial issues, without even attempting to call attention to it. Your stability makes their instability clear. You don't have to outshine them. It has to do with their light's constant flickering due to using borrowed electricity. In actuality, your frequency is effortless when you're in alignment. The act of imitation is draining, and the difference always becomes apparent in the end. While they're gasping for air and wondering how you manage it, you'll continue to go at the same steady speed. The solution is straightforward. You're not trying to force it. You were made for it, and they are unable to fake that. The ninth is that they think they can mimic your quietness. Your quietness is mistaken for something they can fabricate, and that's where they really fall short. Being motionless does not equate to being still. It is the existence of assurance. You don't need to establish yourself right away. To get noticed, you don't need to seize every chance. Additionally, you don't have to make noise at every quiet moment. Knowing who you are, where you're headed, and what is worth your energy is the source of your serenity. It's the type of poise that comes only from overcoming obstacles that taught you how to remain steadfast when everything else falters. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be with you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the world's fleeting concerns. As the Holy Bible says, everything done in faith will be rewarded by God's abundant blessings. Luke 6 verse 38, like that mighty oak tree, our roots are deeply anchored in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stance we hold is secured by His power. And now, you have the opportunity to be a part of this blessing. When you click this Super Thanks button and make a $100 donation, this act will return to you 100-fold. Now is the perfect time to click the Super Thanks button on YouTube and share God's blessings. You can contribute to His plan and become a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you multiplied beyond your expectations. Remember, His protection and blessings are with you in every step you take and every donation you make. You become part of His divine plan. You are a powerful, radiant being, unshakable like His mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with this confidence and courage. Be blessed, and may the Lord's light guide your way. They attempt to imitate it, but the results are inconsistent. Because they lack the content to support that stillness, they seem as passive, disinterested, or disengaged. Being still is a strategic stance for you. You're standing your ground because you believe the time will be right. All they can do is freeze in place and hope it comes out as confidence. The difference is that their quietness exudes doubt, whereas yours exudes security. The reality behind silence is palpable. They may be unable to articulate it, but they are able to distinguish between acts of calm and those supported by experience. Your composure has been put to the test. You encounter circumstances that most people would have found frightening, but you maintained your composure. Your quiet is compelling rather than lifeless because that history is embodied in your energy. That basis is absent from their interpretation. It's superficial and based on the idea that seeming unconcerned will give the impression that one is in charge. But that facade breaks under pressure. Because they have never learned to anchor themselves from within, they become agitated, fidgety, or irritable. However, since you understand the difference between waiting and squandering time, you can wait without being distracted. Imitation fails because of this. Standing still is the definition of stillness without confidence. Yours is strong because it is supported by discernment, endurance, and a strong faith in time. Since it's just another position they're trying on, theirs falls flat. Furthermore, people can always tell when the calm is contrived and when it is genuine, regardless of how convincing they believe it to be. 10th, they are marketing a version of themselves that they cannot sustain. They are marketing an unsustainable version of themselves. It also illustrates when life requires payment. Copying your style, saying the correct things, or purchasing the appropriate clothing won't help you match your enthusiasm. Most folks aren't ready for how costly it is. Not in monetary terms, but rather in the spiritual and emotional costs associated with your mannerisms. You bought your energy by learning from your failures, growing from your anguish, and gaining strength from times when you had to start again from scratch. You may move in with ease because you have already paid in full. They are attempting to adopt the style without ever participating in its creation. Without the rejection that molded their confidence, they desire it. Without the storms that taught them it, they desire grace. They desire power without having to make the sacrifices necessary to obtain it. Additionally, what they are offering is a copycat since they have eschewed the expense. In brief, informal interactions, it could pass for the genuine thing, but when put to the test, it fails miserably. The bill is always sent by life. It manifests as obstacles, failures, and events that pull back the curtain to see the true self. They never made an investment in the foundation, so they are unable to pay the debt when it comes. Since its vitality has been maintained by performance rather than genuine, it crumbles beneath the strain of actual life. However, you have endured long enough to know that you remain upright even when everything is rocked. You're not attempting to keep up a facade, which is why your presence seems constant. All you're doing is being who you've become. People see you for who you really are, so there's no need to maintain appearances. To maintain the illusion, though, they must labor continuously. Furthermore, that grind cannot continue. The discrepancy between the appearance and reality eventually becomes apparent. The public sees through the performance, and it is difficult to conceal the reality. That's the distinction. They're simply trying it on without understanding the cost of ownership, and you've already paid for the life you lead. Number 11. Without the source code, they are unable to stay up. Since they are unaware of the source code, they are unable to keep up. Their replication constantly falters because of this. Charm, flair, and wit aren't the only components of your energy. It's powered by an unseen operating system that was created from your ideals, perspective, and sense of belonging to something bigger than yourself. Your effect is genuine and your presence consistent because of that inner training. It's not only what you do, it's also the invisible structure that directs your actions and explains why they are effective for you. That underlying mechanism is linked to every move. Your choices are consistent with your values. Your actions are driven by an unending source, and your words are infused with lived experience. You've spent years installing new disciplines, improving your connection to truth, unlearning things that no longer helped you, and upgrading and improving that internal code. Because of this, you can adjust to life's unexpected turns without losing your core. They lack that structure. Without the backend to support it, they are simply replicating the bits of your software that are visible. It's similar to selecting buttons at random on a gadget without being aware of the operating system. For a while, something might function, but then everything breaks down. They lack the internal instructions to navigate, so when difficulties arise, they begin to fumble and guess their way through. The performance begins to lag at that point. Additionally, individuals start to distinguish between the original and the copy. Because they are depending on short-term memory rather than ingrained comprehension, the malfunction is unavoidable. They are able to imitate your voice, facial mannerisms, and approach to events. But it's all trial and error without your source code. Additionally, the type of constant energy you possess cannot be maintained by trial and error. Knowing where your power originates from is what makes you strong, and that understanding keeps you steady and rooted. They have no actual supply and are just using borrowed moves. You're operating smoothly while they're restarting all the time, not because you're perfect, but rather because your system is based on a technology that makes it impossible for someone to copy or hack it. Furthermore, it is hard to overlook the long-term distinction between an original design and a patched-together replica. Number 12. They are unaware that you are producing rather than competing. They are unaware that you are producing rather than competing, and that's why they always appear out of place when they try to match you. They're preoccupied with comparing themselves to you and watching every move you make as though you were participating in the same sport. Here's the reality, though. Even the venue is different for you. While they are enmeshed in comparison mode, shadowboxing someone who has already gone on to the next thing, you are creating, developing, and innovating. You're not interested in establishing your superiority. It focuses on pushing your own boundaries, creating something new, and responding to the urge inside. Your energy remains fresh as a result. You're not simply repeating past movements to maintain appearances. You're always coming up with new concepts, tactics, and methods for developing. People are aware of the distinction. They are able to distinguish between leading from vision and following someone else's lead. However, they are compelled to pursue. As soon as they witness you doing anything, they attempt to perform the same thing in the hopes of having the same effect. They're constantly behind, though, since they're always following. Their target is not where you are today, but where you were. You've already altered the beat by the time they believe they've mastered it. They end up appearing silly because of this. They've caught themselves in a game you're not even playing, not because they lack talent. When someone is competing against someone who isn't competing back, their tactics appear needless, frantic, and even a little goofy. In order to avoid being caught, you are not standing motionless. You're advancing at your own speed, motivated by a force greater than competition. They fail to realize that being superior to others does not equate to actual power. Being the best version of yourself is the source of it. Points, acclaim, and titles are not your goals. You are here to accomplish your purpose. And competition doesn't matter when you work from that position. The match is just in their imaginations, but they are free to continue shadow boxing if they so want. Since creativity usually outpaces imitation, you've already left the ring and begun creating something others can't replicate. 13. Without surviving the burn, they are attempting to match the radiance. Without surviving the burn, they are attempting to match the radiance. What they see as your brilliance is not a look, a filter, or an attitude. It is the residue of all the trials that failed to remove you. Your light was formed in times when you had to rebuild from ashes, in times when you endured hardships without receiving recognition, and in circumstances that tested you to the limit. You didn't get the shine thereafter. It came from the very fires that might have wiped you out. They desire recognition without refinement, brilliance without procedure. However, light resulting from surviving is distinct. It is weighty, warm, and deep. It's more than just show. It tells the tale of all that you have been through. It's not simply that you look different after surviving a fire. You're unique. You exude the type of brightness that results from lessons learned, faith put to the test, and wounds healed. Without going through the procedure, they attempt to replicate the result. They may stage the same look, replicate your style, or reflect your confidence, but it's all a front. Their brilliance is meaningless since it wasn't acquired from perseverance. Because their light was never fueled by perseverance, but rather by appearance, it fades when life becomes hotter. People can sense the difference because of this. The texture of real radiance is incomparable to that of artificial shine. To get attention, it doesn't have to yell. The fact that it is living really makes it stand out. You can't learn from a trend or discover it by observation. But when you've survived your own fires, you carry a quiet authority that says, "I've been where most can't go, and I came back stronger." Fire is the only thing that can teach it. In actuality, a lot of people desire the reward without the refinement. However, the strength of the glow comes from the burn. It's always obvious who has experienced it and who is only acting it out. Yours is tried, lived in, and unflappable. No matter how convincing it seems at first, theirs will soon show its hollowness because the type of brightness that comes from surviving the dark cannot be faked. 14. They are overlooking the fact that energy is proof of evolution. They are overlooking the fact that energy is proof of evolution. Your current mannerisms, speech patterns, and demeanor are not arbitrary. It's the tangible evidence of every level you've mastered and every conflict you've overcome. Your vitality didn't appear overnight. Years of shifting, unlearning, healing, and embracing a version of yourself that you had to struggle for have led to this outcome. There isn't a show, it's a record, and it may be read like a book by anyone who has actually gone through their own transformation. Their replication is so flimsy because of this. Their goal is to replicate the indications, the assurance, the presence, and the ease without ever undergoing the metamorphosis that gives those things their reality. Wearing a medal you didn't earn is like that. Anyone who has earned the genuine thing knows it's phony, even though it could dazzle for a while. A costume is not energy. It's money obtained with experience. The world can tell when you haven't paid the price. Your energy is significant since it has undergone testing. You can only reach a certain depth by going through situations that could have destroyed you. You developed instead of sinking. You bear the fingerprints of that evolution everywhere. It's about how you react rather than how you reply. It's in your ability to remain composed in the face of turmoil. Your presence speaks for itself, therefore you don't need to prove yourself too much. They fail to understand that energy cannot be hurried. Evolution cannot be sped faster and yet produce the same outcome. They wish to avoid the increase while maintaining the authority it bestows. However, that isn't how it operates. The weight of examination finally causes false energy to collapse in both the spiritual and social realms. People become aware of the fissures, irregularities, and lack of depth behind the luster. You have something they can't duplicate because of your evolution. It's hard to replicate without taking the same route, not because you're attempting to hide it. Most people don't want to walk it either. Because of this, their energy will always seem like a copy of yours, no matter how hard they try. Your energy is the evidence that you have experienced evolution, which is the one thing you cannot fake. This isn't about you being superior to anyone in the end. It has to do with how you are forged. You don't put on an accessory to boost your energy in the morning. It's the culmination of all the lessons, setbacks, and faith-filled adventures you've had. This frequency wasn't present when you woke up. You learned to defend it, bled for it, and grew into it. Anyone trying to match it without going through your method would thus always fail, no matter how hard they try. Despite the years of cultivation, they only notice the fruit. They stay away from the flames, yet desire the brightness. They avoid the discipline that created the presence, but they imitate it. And since energy based on imitation will always run out, that's when the difference becomes apparent. However, truth-based energy only gets stronger with time. The best part is that there is nothing you need to show. You don't need to perform better than the copycats. You just need to stay in your lane and allow your progress do the talking. Those who get it will notice a change. When the act becomes stale, those who don't will ultimately have to watch it. Therefore, continue to create, evolve, and breathe in the areas where they are drowning. They are moving with the authority they cannot earn and standing in the calm they cannot pretend to be. Because your energy is proof, not just a feeling. Furthermore, evidence always triumphs over performance. Don't keep it to yourself if this struck you in that deep place within of you where the truth is undeniable. Give it some air. Press the subscribe button to ensure you don't miss the next insightful word. Your story might be the light someone else needs to see today. So leave a comment and tell me which section really resonated with you. To ensure that more people who need this reminder right now see it, hit the like button and distribute it. Your group chats, your folks, and even that one buddy who says they're unbreakable until life rattles them should all see it. We maintain the genuine energy alive and in motion in this way. May you be blessed.